Hi everyone. Today, People, Their Passion and Purpose is we're with Paola Samuel, and she is a life coach and a motivational speaker. Paola has a lot of experience in business and working with people over the years and is now a life coach. And I'm really excited to know what brought her there. And also, I know she's got an amazing message or many messages for us that she wanted to share on this podcast. So thank you so much for coming with us today, to being with us here today. And let's get started. Let's get started.
Sounds good. I'm so
Okay.
happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So just give me like a little bit of a history of, where you're coming from and what brought you into coaching.
My background is in broadcast journalism. I spent more than 2 decades as a reporter, an anchor, morning show host, producer, here in Montreal at CBC and then at Global. And I also got my start in California. Um, so that's my background.
Right.
But at
I
the same
forgot
time,
about that. Paul, I forgot about that. Oh my God.
yeah, it's a big one.
Huge.
It,
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
yeah.
Okay.
And so that's really important because that was my goal. That was my career, and that's a very all-encompassing career, right? And at
Hang
the
on.
same,
When you say goal,
my
what do you
goal is always like as a kid was to be a journalist and to
Right.
be and when I had moved when I was in my 20s to California, um, because my boyfriend at the time had contract, he was working here, had contracts there, and I didn't have a visa, I didn't have anything. And everyone told me, "You're crazy, what are you doing?" And I literally went knocking on doors to get people to offer me an internship. Like I just the old days tore a thing out of the phone book, a page out of the phone book, got all the addresses of all the broadcast companies in San Francisco, and I literally went and knocked on doors. And that's sort of how I got my start. It was just and that actually leans towards that I always had a mindset of just like dive in and things will come.
Yeah.
That's always been sort of me.
Mindset. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a life coach, and I really, my specialty is mindset. That's really what I focus on. But through the years, I also have a very entrepreneurial spirit. I'm a journalist with an entrepreneurial spirit. And so I've had stores, um and one day I decided to start this a company in health and wellness, and through that business, I started to really work on my personal development and my personal growth. And part of it was that I wanted to learn how to be a leader that created more leaders, not followers. And that was a lot of work. And the more work I did, so there was 10 years where I was reading, and I still read books every like constantly, but reading books, going to seminars, working with coaches. And one day like, I really believe in working with coaches. And in the past, like I'd say 6, 7 years, I always work with coaches. And one day working with one of my coaches, I realized I'm supposed to be a coach. Like
Right.
I'm supposed to be inspiring people. I'm supposed to be, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was a complete shift in in the direction of my career because the whole for more than 2 decades, I was like, I'm supposed to be telling stories. I'm a storyteller, right? And I'm supposed to be telling the news. But I realized that they're transferable skills, and there's a lot of what I learned as a journalist that I use as a mindset coach and motivational speaker. And a big part of that is the storytelling aspect and also the listening aspect. Because when you're a journalist, especially in television, you have one day to go out, gather your interviews, figure out your story, and then compact it down to a minute and a half or 2 minutes to go on the air at 6 o'clock. And so you have to be a very good listener because you have to figure out what people are saying. I always say, you have to hear through the noise.
Mhm.
And that's a skill that is crucial for a good coach,
Yes,
right?
it
And
is.
yeah, and so that I honed that skill as a journalist, and it just sort of, things happen when you start opening yourself up to life.
Mhm.
Things come to you and you realize,
Mhm.
wow. this isn't what I thought I was supposed to be doing, but it is what I'm supposed to be doing. And
Mhm.
that's sort of my journey. That's been my journey, and it's been an incredible ride, and it really is where it really is the most fulfilling work I've ever done. And it's really where I'm supposed to be.
Wow.
Like I'm home.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I love how I mean your passion for people and your passion for the storytelling and the listening. It's always been there, and it's
Yeah.
amazing how, we go through life and, we do one thing and then it stacks on top of another thing, it stacks on top of another thing. And, and when we get to a certain point in our life, it sort of all comes together for some people, so that's, and hopefully for most people, right? Because that's what,
Well, I mean, it's supposed to come together for all people. We're put on this earth to live our most fulfilling life. We're
right.
not put on this earth to have one thing and decide what we want to do when we're in our 20s. It's a journey. And so the work that I do with people is to help them get there, to
Yeah.
help them. This is what you're supposed to be living life. You're supposed to be waking up every single day excited about your day, excited about your life, excited about your week. And we're not supposed to be living for the weekend or vacations, but we've been trained by society to think that. And so you train to become a journalist or a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer or a makeup artist or whatever it is that you train to do in your life. And you think, well, I've trained to do it. It's all what I'm supposed to do. But there's so many other aspects to, like, maybe that's what you're supposed to do for a little bit of time. And when people aren't feeling fulfilled, and part of what was happening to me is as I was growing, as I was doing all this work on myself, and I did a lot of work on myself, um, I started to realize, I this isn't speaking to me anymore. I want to be telling stories in a different way. And and it's very hard when you're on television. It is the most, I work with my clients about inside validation, not outside, inside out, not outside in. But being on TV is the biggest outside validation there can be because people see you, people recognize you, people, your kids, friends see their mother on TV, and it's like, wow. And so it's like I really had to dig deep and think, is this really who I am? Or
Yeah.
is it all this outside validation that's keeping me here?
Okay.
And that was a very, that was a big shift. And
Yeah,
it
that's
took
interesting.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And so what you're saying is that you got to a point in your television career, like your broadcast, your journalism career, where it only brought you so far, and you felt that it was time for something else because you were getting the outside validation, but you were now looking more for the inside validation. Is that correct?
Exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is it takes courage to go there. Like that's scary. It's scary I mean, you've been through it. It's scary to spend your whole life in a career
Yeah.
that you think is and it's attached to who you are,
Yeah.
right? It's like, and then all of a sudden say, oh, that's actually not who I am anymore,
Yeah.
and that takes courage, and
Yeah.
that really takes shifting things from the inside and not because what did everyone say to me when I said I think I'm going to leave television?
Yeah.
Be like, what, are you crazy? Like everybody aspires to be something like that. Like
Yeah.
you're doing what everybody wants to do. You're on TV, you're this, you're that. And even that you've got to like, you have to be able to repel those other people's opinions so that you can really listen to your inner voice and your heart and who you really are. And that can only happen when you do the work. Can only happen when you do the work. And
I
so
understand.
yeah. But I,
I,
but I, but interesting thing is if you had told me before I started all this personal development work, oh, one day you're gonna leave television, I would have said, no, I'm not. Like, this is who I am. Were you kidding?
well, it's true because we never really know, like just a thing for to go with this conversation. Like I'm taking courses now, I'm taking a life coaching class, like I had told,
Mhm.
and I found a nutrition class that I wanted to take. And I'm just gonna say this, I don't know if I'm ever gonna do it, but I would love to take a yoga, like a 2 hour, 200-hour yoga class to get myself into it. And
Yeah.
my husband says, wait, all these classes and all these things. And I said, I'm able to grow again now that I sold my business. And now that I sold my business, these are all the things that I've always wanted to do, and this is my time now to do them. And I think when you stop learning and you stop growing, something inside of you dies. And I just want to keep growing and learning. But I also understand how difficult it is for yourself to see yourself as a different person, or like adding all those things to become a different person and allowing yourself that growth. Um, so the difficult, like for example, like can you tell me um, what was a difficult, like if you can remember one little thing about yourself that made it difficult for you to let go of the journalism, let's say, for example.
So, I mean, everything made it difficult to let go of that. That was a very tough journey. It was a very tough decision. And it was because like I said, it really is about, you leave, you sold your business in as a makeup artist, and it's a business that sold, but you can still do your stuff, right? You can still do your stuff. When you decide to walk away from television journalism, you're leaving, like you can't be this is a podcast, but you're not in a studio. It's not the same level of you don't have lights, you don't have like engineers, you don't have,
Right.
it's completely different, right? So all of that, you have to say, okay, this is not for me anymore, which is a big deal. And also to I think to when you spend your life honing a skill,
Mhm.
and then you decide, oh, I've honed this skill, but it's not, like, I did I make a mistake? Was it a mistake? And I think that coming to the realization that it's not a mistake, but it's a journey. Like, you
Right.
didn't make a mistake. This was part of my journey.
Yes.
And but before you get there, of course it's difficult, because you're thinking, how do I separate myself from that? How do I, you know,
Who am
there
I without that? Like, who am I without me? That's what
exactly.
I was asking myself when my business was coming to an end, and I knew that I didn't want to open up another business. Like I could still do makeup, but it's just not the same thing as having a business where you're growing a team and you're growing
Right.
individuals and you're growing, and
And
there's,
the brand for you, it was
yeah,
a brand name.
right.
It's a recognized brand name, right?
Like, so it's letting go of that persona, right?
Yeah.
So when you're letting go of your TV, of your journalism, you were letting go of that persona. And that there's a grieving, you know, there's a
Right.
grieving.
It's a process. And it's, I mean, it's part grieving, but it's also part, like, it's sort of like, you know what it is? It's like we walk around life with this armor around us, okay? And in that armor, because most of us, right? And in that armor, in front of that armor, it's like, this is who I am. I'm a journalist. I'm a mom. I'm a go-getter. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a businesswoman. I'm an entrepreneur. That's what you've got here.
Yeah.
As you do the work on yourself, and you allow those pieces of that armor start to fall, what happens is your inside light
Mhm.
starts to, you give permission to who you are inside to come out. And so as those pieces of armor start to fall, it's almost like it's like a broken piece where the light comes through, right? And that's you.
Yeah.
That's the real you. So when you start giving that part of you permission to speak, it gets louder,
Yeah.
and you connect to it more. And then you go, okay, so it's okay. Like, there's a path here, and there's clarity. This is where I need to go.
Yeah.
So it's always a process. There's a grieving, yes, but it's also a sort of a rebirth, right?
Yes.
It's like,
Oh,
you're what are you walking into now? This is like, and one of the reasons when you say, I want to take all these courses, you know why you want to take all these courses? Because you've given yourself the space to allow the real Charlene to come out. Like,
yes.
you've done this
Well,
business for so long, and it was so part of you that
yes.
you blocked everything else from coming in.
Right. You're no 100%. And I knew it was happening while I was there doing it, but there was just no room for anything else. And I was still the true Charlene while I was there, but there's more to the true Charlene than just that,
There's many layers, many, many layers,
100%.
right?
Oh,
And
many.
that and that is and that's the work that
Mhm.
people are scared to do, right? It's a fear, I do master classes on fear, and I work a lot. There's a fear of that change. There's a
Mhm.
fear of saying, but wait a minute, like I made that choice. This is what I decided to do. This is who I am. This is that. But everybody knows that deep down, there's wisdom deep
Mhm.
down in us. But
Mhm.
between what our parents tell us with love, right? It's not like a lot of the stuff that blocks us. It's because people put you on a path where they think you're going to be the happiest and most successful. But that's not always in alignment with your authentic self.
Mhm.
Most of the time, it's not because we don't allow ourselves the possibility that there's other things out there when we're on a path because we put blinders on. And when things happen to us, the expression everything happens for a reason. It's
Mhm.
true. You know, things can happen and you could think it's the most devastating thing in your life.
Mhm.
And then you're like, wait, like how many people do you know in your life, Charlene, who have had these things happen or get fired from a job or, get into it, like suddenly are split from their husband or wife or whatever, and suddenly everything opens up for them after they're past the pain, right? Why? Because they were being pushed in a direction that was the right path for them,
Mhm.
but they didn't realize it. And that's like when we say it's all about the journey, it's not just an expression. It really is all about the journey. As you walk on the journey of life, and if you're open enough and that armor has fallen off and you're really connected to your authentic self, you start to see the opportunities of things that are connected that you are meant to be doing. And that's what this is all about. That's why it's such a fulfilling and exciting work.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like watching yourself grow and watching people grow, it's so exciting, right? So
Amazing.
you, so let's go back into you and your experience about growing, right? So, for example, when you gave up your journalism and you got into your other businesses, right? And then you decided to go into to study life coaching after being with this coach, um, I guess what I'm asking you is to describe the feeling of that letting go and moving forward, and that fear, so that maybe someone listening to this podcast might be fearful of change, or um, might need to think about how they can, let's say, deal with that fear, to allow them to say, you know what, maybe what I always wanted, I can do, or something like that. What can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Oh yeah. So you made some really good points. It's I would say most of us are walking through life with a lot of fear of
Mhm.
change. And the word change is a very scary word for a lot of people. People like the familiar, people like the comfort. But the reality is that life, real life, is outside of our comfort zones. It's outside of our familiar. And we fall into patterns. And then those patterns don't allow us to see things. So people who are watching this and are thinking, wow, God, like I'd love to like figure out what I'm really supposed to be doing. Because you get into a place where you've got a career at a certain level, you've got your house, you've got your family, you did what society told you you're supposed to do to be happy and successful. And a lot of people, this is most of my clients, wake up and think, now what? I don't get it. I did everything I was supposed to do. I did it. I did it. I got the house. I got the degree. I got the kids. I had vacations. I did everything, and still I'm not feeling it.
Right.
Well, and then that's when fear kicks in. And then it's like, but what, I mean, like, what's on the other side? Like, where am I going? What am I doing? Forget it. Push it down, push it down, push it down. That's what people do, right? And so all of those desires, all of that stuff connected to who you really are and what you're supposed to be doing and where your fulfillment is and where the authentic you is and where you're aligned with who you really are gets deeper, pushed down deeper and deeper and deeper. And so the thing about fear is that it is paralyzing.
Mhm.
It stops people, and it's linked to negative stories that we tell. Like it's like the mindset thing is linked to so many different things, and fear is a big one because fear is the ego going, what are you doing? Like where are you going? We don't do that. Like, Charlene, you're a makeup artist, not a yoga. Like,
Yeah.
who do you think? Oh, what? Like, you're like doing vegan stuff? Like, what is that? Makeup, come back, right? And that comes from, so as human beings, we've evolved through the days of the cavemen, but where we have not evolved is our flight or fight reaction.
Mhm.
Okay. We are trained, our body is trained to come out of a cave and look for dinosaurs. And if there's a brontosaurus out there, we go, go back. That's automatic. When there's fear, we retreat, right? And that is designed in the miracle of our bodies to keep us safe, to keep
Mhm.
us safe. It works against who we the journey that we're talking about because we don't have caves and brontosaurus. What we have is our head making up stories of what is the worst case scenario.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so somebody's sitting here going, I have this career, I have like a great salary that can afford this and can afford that, and I've got all of this stuff, but I'm not happy. And they stick their head out of their comfort zone, which is their own cave, and they go, danger. I don't know what out there. Retreat.
So you did this work with a coach.
So I did this
No.
work. I did this work, part of this work with a coach, but I did a lot of the work also. I mean, it wasn't one, I've worked with different coaches, but I've
Right.
also, because I went to so many seminars, the work started for me when I started reading books, personal development books, and I started reading, it was just one shift after another. It was just, when you read stuff, I mean, you've done that. You've done some of that work, when you read stuff and you're like, you kind of always knew it, but you put it in the back of your head. And it just all of a sudden it comes to the forefront. So that is how the shifts start to happen. Also going to seminars and hearing things and being around people who are dedicated to their own personal growth, you suddenly realize, oh my, there's a whole world out here of people who are on these journeys, and I haven't seen it, especially as a journalist. Like you go in, you go like your day is there's no, you've got a day. You go in, you get your story, you get the thing, you come back, you write the story, you get on the air, done. Okay, next day. There's no room for growth or journey, or if it just, you've got deadlines. It's all
Yeah.
deadlines. And so seminars. And then if when you start to be in that world of personal development, what do you hear all the time? Two things. One is there is no investment that is more important than investment in yourself. Spend the money, go to the thing, get the coach, go to the seminar that seems crazy expensive, I don't know, on the other side of the world. Do it, because the more you spend money on yourself, the more you grow, the more everything in your life grows. That includes financial, relationships, happiness, joy, fulfillment, all of it. So that's number one lesson that I learned that created massive shifts for me. Because what do we do, as especially as women? We put ourselves last,
Mhm.
right? We're like, we got to spend on this, we got to spend on that. This isn't important. Like, okay, this is about me, growth. Yeah, it's not important. I'll do it later. But then we never do it later. So that was the number one shift that I had. And the number two shift that I had was, you got to have someone in your corner.
Yeah.
You got to have someone in your corner. So coach, I started investing in coaches, and I started investing in, you know, having someone not only that coaches you, but someone that is your accountability person,
Mhm.
and says, okay, no, this is like, you said you were going to do this. Where are we at that? Like, it's the person that holds, it's like a sports coach.
Yeah.
Where does coaching come from?
Yeah.
Coaching comes from sports.
Mm.
It
I have,
used to be sports.
yep. I have a question for you. And you brought it up in the second part of this little blurb that you gave us about that. How was your family when you were changing? Like, how did you deal with that, or how did they deal with your new stuff coming out, your mindset, your focus, your work, your
So
excitement, passion?
as I was changing, my kids were small. So it was very beneficial to them because I started looking at report cards differently. I started looking at results with a different lens. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that I did, um, one of the things that I learned along the way of all this is I had heard, it was actually, I don't know if you know who Sarah Blakely is, but she's the founder of Spanx. Okay. And I heard, I follow her because I love her stuff. And she's like the first woman to sell a business for $1 billion. And she's just amazing. And she had said, like ages ago, I'd seen something where she said that when she was a kid, she would sit at the table and her father would ask the kids, "What did you fail at today?"
Yes, I've heard this story. Yes, continue, please.
And so I thought, I love that. Like, because failing just means you tried. It means you had the courage to do something different, right? And of course you're going to fail because I mean, how much did you fail as a makeup artist before you became a good makeup artist, you know? How bad was I as a live reporter because before I became a good live reporter? You have to fail to continue. But we have this fear of failure. And so I thought, what a great mindset shift for kids. And so I started implementing that at the dinner table.
Mm.
Every day I'd be like, okay, guys, we're going to talk about what we failed at today. And when I would say that to my mom friends, they'd be like, what? What? How would I do that today? I'm like, no, 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 we're changing the definition of failure. So
Mm.
that's one of the things that started to shift things in my house. And the second thing was I started understanding what growth mindset is versus fixed mindset, right? And just as a great quick synopsis, growth mindset is you're always learning. It's not about the result. It's about the journey. It's about knowledge. It's about falling and getting up and falling and getting up. Fixed mindset is if I can't do it right, I'm not doing it. If I can't get 100% on the exam, I might as well fail. That's fixed mindset, right? And it also comes to, so I thought this is hurting my kids in terms of how they learn.
Mhm.
And I want them to learn for the love of learning because then the marks will come. And they went to Marie de France. So they went, it's like French schools are very, very like brain oriented. Grow your brain, right? It's not the whole child. It's a very different, it's not like the English school system. And it was very much the pressure of the report card was huge and the pressure of the marks were huge. And I sat them down and I said, from now on, I don't care what you get on your report cards. I don't care. It's only good. It's a snapshot of where we are on the learning curve. That's it.
Right.
That's it. And it took all, and they were young. They were like, I'm talking about 10 and 7 or maybe 10 and like around that age, around that age. Um, Again, my mom friends were like, I get calls and go, am I hearing right that you told your son you don't care about report cards? Because my son's telling me I shouldn't care about report cards. So I was getting that,
You're
right?
good. Yeah.
But what happened was they got better at school because it wasn't about the mark, it was about the learning. And it was about knowing that you can't know stuff until you learn it, which means you're not going to know it until you keep learning and learning and learning, and you're going to fall down, you're going to thing, and you're not going to know, and you're going to not get good grades, and then you're going to say, oh, I need to work on this and it's a completely different mindset. So that's part of the major shifts that started happening in my life. And it was all positive shifts because my relationships started to change, your triggers start to change, like what you get triggered by, but you suddenly go, oh, like usually if my brother says that, it drives me crazy. And now it's not driving me crazy. Like, so it was all that kind of stuff because it's not like you don't change. You don't wake up on Monday and go, I'm going to be a different person. And on Tuesday, you're a completely different person. It's really, the changes are subtle. So the people, it's not like people say, oh my God, you're a completely different person in one day. It's the way I work is I really believe that it's 1% a day.
Mhm.
Little subtle changes. It's little changes in your habits. It's little things that you do that create massive shifts in your life. And and that's how I changed. It was a little shift at a time, and things started to change over time. So
Yeah.
it was positive. Yeah. It was but it's really 1% a day. Like you get you like it's almost like, the curtain opens and you're like, "Ugh, how did I never see that before? Like it was always there, but I never saw it." And then you shift and then you act differently in certain things, but it's tiny little things. So this process was over 10 years, you know? Yeah.
Interesting. I love it's so interesting. And yes, it's the little things, and it's the little things in any part of your life that you want to change, and building new habits. Like eventually these things, once you start putting them in your life little by little, they just become habits and they become part of who you are. And then it makes room, right, for other things to come.
Exactly.
So I'm a firm believer of that. I love when you said, and the moms, the school moms were like, what,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, because and that's what sets you apart to go into this direction of coaching and mindset. And because yeah, you have a lot of people to help because maybe they don't see what, they don't see what you saw. They didn't see what you saw, and
Yeah.
they didn't have that same experience as you. So yeah, wow, your kids are lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, and it's funny because they are, they look at life from a point of growth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so failure doesn't, I mean, it scares them to a little bit. It's not like they're not superhuman. They have real emotions and stuff, but they don't look at it, they don't recoil from it.
Yeah.
It creates curiosity in a whole different way. And it's not about the destination. Destination mindsets are the mindset that keeps us small.
Yeah.
It keeps us from doing anything creative. It keeps us just like, I've got to learn this and be good at it, because if not, other people are going to think I'm dumb.
Yeah.
So it's based on other people,
Yeah.
based on what perception of other people, people's opinions of you,
Yeah.
right? Whereas growth mindset is all about inside. I'm growing. I don't care what other people think.
Yeah. Can you share with us something that you're working on yourself right now? Are you able to share something with us?
Stuff inside of me, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what do
Oh my
you?
God, always working on stuff. So
Oh, just a
it's
couple
like
of
it's
us.
never, and you know what the thing is? Here's the thing about the journey is
Yes.
the beautiful thing about the journey is you never get there. It's
No.
a journey, right? And when you get to a certain place, you're like, look at the view. It's going to be nicer even higher up, and you go to the next place. But you can't get from here. You've got to go here, and then it's all levels, right? So what am I working on
What's on
myself?
your mind lately? Yeah. Like, what's on your mind lately?
I think it is abundance, and the mindset of abundance. That there is no such thing as, like, there's more than enough to go around,
Mhm.
and there's no limit. There's
Yeah.
no limit in money that could come towards my business. There's no limit in clients that I can help. There's no limit in opportunities for me to be on stage. I'm working on that because we're trained to think that there's only so much that is out there. It's not true. It's not true. And so I think abundance mindset, it's one of the things that I love teaching. And it's one of the things, and I think because I understand, the shifts that need to happen for you to completely open yourself up to allow all that stuff in. So I think abundance is really something that I'm very much working on in myself.
That's interesting because it's like let me see if I understand. It's like we put ourselves where we think we belong. Right? We put ourselves, yeah, where we think we belong or where we should be.
Yeah.
And in order to put ourselves somewhere else, it's that part of us that we have to work on and fight against every day because we all have those ideas in our heads about, thinking about ourselves. Like we wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you say to yourself, right? We,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And
Amazing.
and abundance is also about, like, it's a really good point what you said. We put where we think we belong. That's also in terms of income, right?
Yeah,
We could think of success. Somebody thinks of success as this much money a year. Then they get to this much money a year. and they think, okay, I'm successful, right? And it's not to say that it's all about money. I'm talking about money as abundance, as a
Mhm.
vehicle of abundance. Okay. Because money is an energy. So I'm not saying, oh, you got to make money. It's about the abundance, the energy of thing. And so it, but because we've created that set point.
Mhm.
So we've blocked everything else from coming in, right? And so it's about breaking through those set points for everything in your life to allow to give the space for the energy to come in. And you know it, you know when you're feeling energy coming, even if you're not connected to energy or who you are, or whatever. When you got that feeling like, oof, things are like rolling, things are working, we've all had that time. It's very often on vacation. It's very often when we're not thinking of stuff. Like you're like, why does everything work so well when I'm on vacation? You know why? Because you're in the moment. You're just allowing things to come. Why do I meet all these interesting people? Why is it? Because you're just allowing things to come, right? Because you're allowing the abundance to flow because you're not blocking it with all the other stuff.
Yeah, so good.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
100%,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Uh,
So but it's a very good point. It's a very good point that we do what we think
I see
we're
you on a very big stage.
I sorry, I'm just plugging in my computer.
Go
Uh,
ahead.
I
I
yes,
see you on a big stage.
love it. Love it.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure. I do. I had a vision of it while you were talking a couple of minutes ago.
Oh, really?
We were talking about bringing out your, your business, and you mentioned, how many clients you could take, and then how many stages you want to be on, and then I saw you on a big stage.
I love that.
Yes.
That's where I want to be. That's
Yes.
where I want to be.
Yes.
It's not an ego thing, right? It's about how many people can I inspire? Like how many people can I speak to? Because we're put on this earth to live our best life. And most of us are walking around in a container that's this big.
And
Our
then,
container should be like this,
and the
but
thing
we're
is,
not allowing the expansion.
yeah, well, the thing is that you have to have real confidence and clarity in what you're saying. And it has to feel so much a part of who you are, that that message, the more that message is real and ingrained and you're comfortable with it, and the more it sparks energy in you, the bigger you can, the bigger
Right.
you can expand
That's
it.
right. That's
So
right. Yeah.
it's like
And
that.
again, it all comes from inside. It's
Mm.
inside out. And that
Yeah.
is what I tell my clients all the time. With the work is everything is inside out. Doesn't matter what people say to you, doesn't matter like how many times does somebody have this great business idea
Mhm.
and they want the opinions, they want to go to their friends for opinions,
Mhm.
and their friends are going to reflect to them their own fears,
Mhm.
right?
I
So
do that all the time. Yeah, for
right.
sure.
And it's because, and
And I
it
tell
comes
them,
from love. It comes from love. It comes from a
yeah,
good place. But
yeah.
it's not, it's like, oh no, well, what if this doesn't work? Or what if that
I,
doesn't work? What if this doesn't work? Right. Because that's their fears. And so
yeah.
then we absorb somebody else's fears and we give that space, that fear space in our head, someone else's fear in our heads. And we go around in reactive mode in life. Like I'm reacting to this, I'm reacting to that. The opposite is we're supposed to be living the opposite. We're living intentionally from inside. The decisions are coming from my gut feeling, from who I know I am, from my authentic self. And so other people's opinions are great, but they're not going to shift who I am. And if you see like the most successful entrepreneurs, they have a vision and they don't let people derail them.
Mm. Yes,
That's the work.
yes, yes.
That's the work.
So, just to sort of, I guess, finish things off, I want to do two things with you. I want you to share the biggest message that you've been sharing with people lately, and for people, if you can recommend, 1 to 3 books on where people can either get started, how to go deeper, or the one that the last book you read. So let's start with, what is the biggest message you want to send to people today?
Ooh, it's a big one.
I know.
The biggest message I want to send to people is that you are put on this earth to live a spectacular life. You are not put on this earth to live small. You're put on this earth to be the most authentic version of you, and you're put on this earth to with a purpose. And our job is, what is our purpose and how do we fulfill it? And that's where your joy is. When you allow yourself to just come out and be you and connect to your purpose, that's when we start living our highest, like that's when we start buzzing at this level.
Yeah.
And that is what we're meant to do. So don't play small. That is
Okay.
my message.
And work.
Find,
You didn't get there without working on it. So
and you got to work on it. And
no.
you got to work on it. Find yourself a coach, start reading books, start going to seminars, start watching on YouTube. Like there's things that it doesn't have to cost money at the beginning, or find a coach. Find
Hmm.
a coach that you relate to and
And I'll put your links in the
yeah,
conversation
that would be
on
great.
my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Spotify.
Um,
Sure. And
um,
books.
okay, so books. So to get started, I would say book number one is The Slight Edge.
The Slight Edge. I'm going to put this in our, okay.
Slight Edge is a great first book to read because it's really about understanding that the small little habits, you don't eat a pizza one night and gain 20 pounds. It's a slight, so the slight edge is it's like you're either working this way or you're working this way. And you're either working for yourself or working against yourself. And so you don't go to the gym. You, you go, people don't look, if people go, wow, you're so fit. It's because you've worked on it.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as overnight success.
Yeah.
And the slight edge just kind of really capsulates that. So that's amazing.
Yep.
Uh, Another book, if you are into spiritual and manifesting, which is a huge
Hmm.
growth, is what's it called again? Here, I have it here. It's the Gabby Bernstein book. It's
Mm.
Super Attractor. Super Attractor by Gabby Bernstein.
Super Attractor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really good introduction to what your energy, what you're capable of, and what you can attract into your life with shifts of energy. And then the book that I'm just finishing now that has been life-changing is a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Wow, that sounds good.
It's Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's amazing.
He's amazing.
Amazing. It's amazing. It is really breaking. That's what I've been working on, is really breaking the habit of being myself, breaking all those things that I thought was my personality, in terms of what I can do and how much I can grow and how much I think, and breaking it and just changing it and changing the message. Like it's about changing the message that you send to every atom in your body, every single molecule in your body. And
Yes.
so it's really powerful. Those are three that they're highly recommend.
Amazing. I want to read them all. I'm a terrible reader, but I want to read them all.
Become a reader. Become a reader.
I know that's one thing I have to work on for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing, Paula. Thank you so much. You have wonderful energy, very powerful, a powerful energy, full
Thank
of
you.
growth mindset. I learned so much and
So
am definitely majorly energized. Yeah, and
excellent. It's been a
yeah,
it's been a blast. It's been and it's been like it's just like we learn from each other, so it's that's what's so amazing.
yeah, exactly. We can do it again. We can
I'd
definitely do
love
it again. So, everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode of People, Their Passion and Purpose. Please subscribe to my page on YouTube. And thank you so much, Paula. And we'll talk again soon.
definitely. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Have a great day.